He's fighting out of Paisley in Scotland and brings into the cage a perfect professional record of 4 wins. Introducing to you, Sean, the one, Clancy Jr.
Welcome to another Open Mat, and this week we are joined by rising Cage Warriors star, Sean Clancy Jr. Sean, thank you so much for giving us the time. We really appreciate it. We know you're busy. Obviously you train every day, multiple times a day. You've just had a kid within the last couple of months, so let's bounce straight in it. How did having a kid, because you're 21 years old, you're in this journey where you're looking to be going to the top, aiming for the UFC, currently at Cage Warriors, and then you get a kid in the mix. How did that change your mindset as where you're going and time frames and all this kind of stuff?
It gave me a certain sense of urgency. I never, like, you know what I'm like, you can't rush me doing anything, so I'm slow. I literally, there was no urgency when it came to getting to the UFC. I've always known I was going to get there, so there was never a matter of like, oh, get me there. But now that I've had a baby, I need money. Yep. Do you know what I mean? So there's a certain urgency that's there now as well. The lack of sleep also has definitely affected me, so I think I've probably got a wee bit more crab it, which has probably inadvertently also helped with fighting. It's gave me a wee bit of like a chip on my shoulder almost, so I am definitely a little less like forgiving and stuff like that, like when it comes to like training or sparring and stuff. So it's probably helped me in like a lot of ways, but as far as recovery and stuff like that, that's definitely something I'm still trying to get used to. But,
I remember, like, you're a father as well of daughters, or a daughter, I'm daughters, and I was like, does it make me weaker having girls? And we spoke of this before, and I think it takes that wee bit of edge off you, but when it comes to fighting, it's fighting. It doesn't matter what it is.
See, that's something I've always, like, people keep asking me, and like, is it given, now you've got something to fight for? That's what they're kind of saying to me and stuff like that. And selfishly, I've always known that I'm going to be the best in the world regardless of me having a daughter. This is a selfish task of mine. I want to be the best fighter in the world. Obviously the fact that I've got a daughter now and stuff like that, it's like a little bit more motivation and stuff, definitely. But as far as like, I'm not going to like try harder now that I've got a daughter, because I've always it's always been something in my head. I need to try my very, very, very best to become the best in the world. I'm going to put all of my effort into it. Every single like ounce of my childhood and stuff like that's been put into training and stuff, really. So it's not really something that's made me want to fight more, but it definitely has. It's definitely put a wee bit of a chip on my shoulder and stuff like that. I don't think I've got softer per se when it comes to like outside the training. I've definitely got softer in the house and stuff like that, but outside, I feel like I've actually got a wee bit more crab at, mate, to be honest. I'm not going to lie.
I think it's a good thing, and I'm glad there that you said that it's not made you put any more effort into it, because, but the urgency is there. This like, I need money now, because it's not. It's funny when me and Paul were both quite young dads as well, so we know what it's like to be your age and like, fuck, I do actually need dough right now. And when you're just yourself, when you're just like, so what? I can get by on that. Like, that's cool. I almost miss sometimes having to ever think about that. Like, I can remember when you just actually didn't care. You went to the cash machine, had £0. Fuck, well. I've no money till Friday. Oh well. That's not an option now for like once you start to get older and once you have those responsibilities. So, but where you're training and stuff, are you finding it harder, or do you just have to prioritise your house time? Do you get what I mean?
I do know what you mean. I think
before you maybe just kicked back in the house, chilled out, played the computer, now, or maybe scrolled on your phone. I don't know what you do, but in the house now, are you very focused on like, I have to be with my partner? Because obviously the modern dad has got to support his women. Like, do you see yourself having to work in the gym and work in the house too, if that makes sense?
100%, because it's not something you can like really switch off. Like, as soon as I get into the gaff, I used to be able to just kind of sit and, as you said, play Xbox or just do what I wanted. Whereas now I'm like with my missus 24/7, I'm with the daughter 24/7. And you can't like exactly sit and scroll on your phone whilst your daughter's there. Do you know what I mean? You need to be like sitting, entertaining her,
Your
trying
time's
to like
already fractured with your kids.
exactly.
Or helping.
So
You're cleaning stuff. You're cleaning bottles.
there's no rest. There's no full rest. If you know what I mean.
I couldn't go back to it.
It's rewarding.
It's amazing.
Very rewarding. I was actually sat watching my wee and just sit and play on the floor I looked at the clock and it was like 40 minutes. I was like, I can't believe 40 minutes just passed there. I was just sat watching the wee and she can't even crawl yet. Like, so I'm not even watching her crawl about. I'm just watching her spin in circles and like try and like grab things. And I'm like, this is just like, I can't believe I've just produced this wee half of me. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, it's the most rewarding thing I've done to date. 100%. It's the best thing in my life.
It's life-saving for a lot of guys.
Completely.
Life-saving.
Completely.
For sure.
I've got a tattoo across my chest and it says, God only knows what I'd be without you. And it's like
I've always wondered what that was about.
Like, I like the Beach Boys, but that lyric, that line is like, what would I be with it? Like, she came at the right time when I was needing focus. And it's the same for yourself. Like, although you were focused, there's a different type of focus.
100%.
So you touched on it very briefly there about for the vast majority of people who maybe not know your story of when you started, your whole background. Because I remember having this conversation with you, like, because we've had some good conversations driving down to like Sheffield and that together. You want to just dip your toe into how you get into this sport?
How I started, yeah. So I don't have a memory of me starting MMA. I don't have a memory of me starting training. It's always something I've done. My dad got me into it at a very, very, very young age. So some of my earliest memories are of me training with my dad, like in the living room. You know what I mean? Just small things. Like he was very clever with how he done it. Like he would turn it into games and stuff like that, if you know what I mean. It was like, he would do plyometrics and stuff like that with me, but it was like, see how far you can, like how many jumps will it take you to get to this like location? You versus 4 other boys, go, and you have to win. So he's kind of installed that competitiveness in me from a very young age as well. So I was always having to win. Very, 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 he always told me I was like 2 or something like that. I think I was a bit, I think it was about 2 or something like that when he'd had me doing like wee bits and bobs and stuff. I've got hundreds of brothers and stuff like that, so I've never been for lack of training partners as well.
Wrestling in the house with him.
Literally just all day, every day. Like my mum used to work in like a pub. She was a waiter. And I remember me and Logan used to just be in the middle of the pub, just wrestling with each other and stuff like that, with like a crowd of like just adults surrounding us and stuff like that, just like pure cheering us on and stuff. So I've always loved that competitiveness. I've always loved fighting. It's always something I've wanted to do. Like since I was a child, I have no memory of not doing it. So it's literally always been who I am. People like ask me why I do it. I've got many reasons as to why I do it, to be honest, but it's just so deeply ingrained in who I am now. It's whenever you think Sean Clancy, you think fight. Like that's the first thing you think of. I'm a fighter. What else? Do you know what I mean? That's the only thing you're really going to think of when you think of me.
Do you think that? You think that's all?
Well, I've got a lot to me, of course, but like that's the primary thing. When you think of me, you think of the fact that I fight.
I think that's you've obviously got dad, your friends, your partner. There's loads of different facets to you. It's not just fighting, but I get it. You told me your very first age at a PT.
Age at a PT, I think I was about 6 or 7 or something like that. My dad got me a PT with Paul McVeigh,
who's one of the best jiu-jitsu practitioners in Scotland.
He's the first double champ in Cage Warriors. Like a lot of people think it was probably Conor McGregor, but he was the first double champ in Cage Warriors. So I've been a Dinky Ninja I remember I got one of the first Dinky Ninja t-shirts. I remember when I was younger, Dean Riley gave me a Dinky Ninja t-shirt when I was younger. There's a picture of me. I'll see if we can like put it up or something like that. I'll send you it. But like I'm like 6 again, 7 or something like that, and I'm sat like just pure staring with these like 4-ounce gloves on, just like
they're like Mickey Mouse hands on your tiny wee hands.
Oh, they're massive. They're massive, like so out of place, but it's like such a good photo to look back on.
So you've obviously always felt quite at home in a gym environment. It's felt very natural to you. Your dad trained a bit as well, so it's easy. Like you've been around fighters for your whole life, really. You have been around guys fighting and doing it, so it does come quite naturally. So again, like with the parenting thing, are you find that a bit trickier? You find that hard in comparison to training?
Yeah.
Aye.
I think everything's hard in comparison to training.
Really?
I think training's just come so naturally to me.
Training's just, I've got to do that.
Switch off. Like, that's just something I've always done again. So, like, going out with my daughter and stuff like that, like going out with Hannah and stuff, socialising, I find that part of life so much more difficult than training. Like, I feel I actually seen the podcast that he's done with Dan Hardy. Like, a lot of things he was like saying were resonating so much.
Well, that's quite a common theme that we're seeing.
We're noticing that.
Like, I was just listening to everything he was saying, and I was like, I feel like he's actually talking about me. So yeah, everything other than training. Like, training is the easiest thing I do in a day, honestly, because I've always done it. It's just something I find comes so naturally, whereas like socialising and stuff like that. I think that's one of the reasons that I flung myself into fighting so much, because I always struggled to socialise and stuff like that. So it would be somewhere I felt comfortable, if you know what I mean. Like, whenever I was training, I felt comfortable. Whenever I wasn't training and I was in a social setting, I wasn't comfortable.
So what is it about the social setting you find hard? Because you're quite an intelligent young guy. You're quite a well-spoken young guy. You're articulate. I've been away on trips and stuff where I've heard you, especially the opinions you have on some things. You do hold quite strong opinions on some things, but something I heard you say once, and it's always stuck with me. Me and you were talking about a subject and you went, I didn't really know enough about that, so I'm not gonna say an opinion on it. And I thought that was quite impressive for somebody. I think at the time you were only like 20, and I was like, fuck, I wish I'd used to come out with stuff like that when I was 20, because I would just talk on something with no idea about it. So what is it you find difficult about fitting into these places when you obviously are more than competent?
I'm definitely better as I've got older, to be honest. It's probably a mindset that I've not really managed to shift, if you know what I mean. I'm probably a lot better now than I used to be, and I'm just staying in that kind of mindset of a young boy who was never able to socialise properly and stuff, if you know what I mean. So again, I'm a lot better than I used to be. Whenever I go to social settings and stuff like that, and like everybody's talking to me and stuff like that, I do feel like I kind of start shutting down and my brain kind of switches off and I just don't know what to say. That's probably the extent of it, to be honest.
You maybe just didn't have anything in common with a lot of guys your own age.
There's that. Yeah, I used to get, like, in school, I used to get made fun of a lot and stuff like that. So that was so frustrating, if you know what I mean. Whereas I used to be able to take that frustrating out in MMA. I'd be like, right, fuck it, all I've got, like, what I've got is fighting. I've got that. I can do that. I can throw all my everything into that. So I almost use that as an excuse for as to why I couldn't really socialise, if you know what I mean. Like, I've got no time to socialise, I've got no time for girlfriends, I've got no time for anything like that. Whereas I did. I just used that as an excuse. So I would throw all of my time into that so as that I didn't have to do any of those things, if you know what I mean. So
what about, obviously, your rise to through Cage Warriors? From us on the outside looking in, it's going to be rapid. There's no really going to be any two ways about that. Your fights in Cage Warriors have been quite highlight reel fights. The media spotlight is going to come to you, and you are going to have to start putting your own personality across, and not to a point where you're going to have to make fans like you, but fans are going to have to start to relate to you. Do you think that that's going to be tricky for you?
You know what? No, I actually think that'll be okay. See, as soon as you put a camera on me and stuff like that, I'm normally fine.
I watched your last interview. I thought it was great.
Yeah, and I'm not. It's weird. Like, normally I feel fine as soon as you put a camera in front of me, or like if I'm in a setting like that. It's a hard one to explain, to be honest. I don't know. I feel more comfortable when there's a spotlight on me, if you know what I mean. I don't want to sound too cliche when I say things like that, but I genuinely, honestly do. Like, I done a podcast not too long ago. I felt absolutely fine. Like, when I was doing interviews with Cage Warriors, I felt absolutely fine. Like, I was making everybody laugh and stuff like that. It was sound. Like, I didn't feel uncomfortable at all. So like,
you're able to switch it on.
Yeah, if you know what I mean.
As we spoke about with Dan Hardy's, like, a step into this role. Is it pretty much the same for yourself?
Yeah, kinda, but it feels like it flows a lot easier. Like, I feel like the conversation's always a little bit better, if you know what I mean. I feel like I'm kind of, I don't know, I almost feel like, especially when I'm getting interviews and stuff like that in Cage Warriors, I almost feel like in charge, if you get me.
Yeah.
So
you're talking about...
well, you're leading this conversation now.
You're talking about something that you know everything about.
Yeah, exactly.
You know MMA, so of course you're going to be able to come across very, very well in that sense.
I feel like I'm highly, like, valued and stuff like that, especially as far as Cage Warriors goes and stuff. So I don't feel uncomfortable, if you know what I mean. I feel like I don't think I'm going to be able to word that any better. I feel valuable, if you know what I mean, as far as Cage Warriors goes and stuff like that. I feel like a valuable fighter, so I don't feel like out of place. I don't feel like there's anybody better than me, really.
There's no imposter syndrome.
Exactly. I feel like I belong there, if you know what I mean. So that kind of helps.
And is there anything you can give us? Are you allowed to talk about anything, or
as in
future fights, future opponents?
Fights.
Yeah,
So
are you able to give us anything?
we got offered a fight that got turned down for November, straight after your fight. Yep. So I was supposed to be coming back and then fighting like the week after they offered me. Like, it wasn't even a short notice fight, it was like 8 weeks. They've turned it down. I don't know if I'm allowed to say who or anything like that, but they've turned it down. It was actually a pretty big fight, like a fairly well-known guy as far as Cage Warriors goes and stuff like that, but it was pretty cool.
If you mind me asking, I obviously know.
Yeah.
Who was it that turned it down? The fighter, Cage Warriors, or the coach?
Cage Warriors never turned it down. Cage Warriors offered me the fight.
Wanted it.
They wanted the fight because his opponent pulled out. I could only assume that it was his coaches trying to keep him safe.
So they were looking for you to step in as somebody who right, okay, that makes sense.
It was actually a fairly big fight.
It was.
Yeah.
That is. Like,
he's like a well-known guy. He's fought in like the UFC and stuff.
Dana White's Contender Series.
That's it. That's what he's fought in. I think he's fought in that twice or something.
Are you disappointed to not get it?
Yes and no. It's nice to like
No, a man's scared of you.
Exactly. I've not even had to fight that guy and I've smashed him, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I do know. For sure.
I don't like if I've walked into a nightclub or whatever that he looks down. It's not I don't it doesn't bother me. It's nice to feel that, if you know what I mean.
Avoided,
Avoided, exactly. So it's nice to know that I'm like kind of the boogeyman of that division. I put a post up on like the winner of the prize fighter. The person who won it that was kept away from me, they were like congratulating him and stuff, and I just put underneath that, I was like, I would have smashed all yous with all due respect, and he's liked that comment. The guy that won the prize fight, I
would have liked it. See, if you wrote that about me, I'd have liked that.
I thought if that was me, I'd have been like, right, we'll sign that contract, let's get something sorted. Whereas he's not said that.
So the prize fighter, for MD that doesn't know, the Cage Warriors are running these 50 grand tournaments, and they're putting 4 people in the tournament, and there's 2 people that are the stand-ins in case anyone gets injured. They came to Glasgow and did the welterweight tournament, and there was 6 guys in it. 2 guys never got into the tournament, but 4 people were in it. And I genuinely believe that all the guys must have had a sigh of relief when they got
100%. They must have. I'm sure I've seen a couple of people smirk as soon as they realised that I wasn't in it. But they must have, 100%. They must have, because the kind of performance I put on against that last guy I just fought was like
clinical.
Exactly. Me and the winner of the prize fight have both fought that man. And if you look at the performances of each of them, it's a completely different kind of thing. Like, I just wiped them out completely. Whereas O'Meal had like a pure back and forth kind of war with him. It looked like it could have went either way. Like, they both rocked each other and stuff like that. So,
how was your mindset at that point when Cage Warriors come to Glasgow, your hometown? They potentially could have built a card round about you for Glasgow Cage Warriors. I think they missed a trick by not making you an actual stable in that prize fighter, and then it unfolds the way it does. How were you feeling in the back?
When you feel pissed off you didn't win 50 grand?
Pissed off, heavy pissed off.
I just wanted to just fling it out there.
Yeah, 100%.
Raging you didn't win 50 grand, because you would have.
At them, not pissed off at the circumstance, because I genuinely believe God's got a better plan for me. There is some sort of reason that I will find out in the future. Maybe I won't find out in the future, but honestly, I promise you, I believe that there's a better reason as to why I never got it. But no, pissed off at the fact that they dropped the ball. Yes, I am a little bit, but it is what it is. It's done now. Do you know what I mean?
Nothing to be done now.
It's exactly. So I could be pissed off and then like, I don't know, ruin my mood, or I can just not be pissed off and then not ruin my mood. So there's only 2 really options, so I'm just going to choose not to be pissed off. But yes, it was a frustrating thing, to be honest, because if you look at, I've got a video of like the main event, like when O'Meal was walking out, and there's like, maybe you're lucky if there's like 150 people still there.
I was away. I'd gone.
Left, so it's like, it was just 100%. They could have like, they didn't need to rig it. They could have just been like, right, these 2 people have fought in Cage Warriors before, so they're in the prize fighter. These 4 people haven't fought in Cage Warriors. Let's do a draw between them.
That's very fair.
But it is what it is. It's done now. Watching the fight, seeing that last performance, none of them looked like they were fighting for 50 grand, any sort of prize. It just didn't. There was no urgency. That's what was so frustrating towards me. Do you know what I mean? I went in, I fought with urgency. I wanted to get in and out unscathed just in case somebody was injured. There was just none of that in any of the fights.
And I thought that you fought a very composed fight. I spoke to you after, I don't know if you mind, but I thought you had been clipped and shot, and because from where we were sitting, that was just the angle we were at. And then when I spoke to you, no mark on you, straight in. It's a swing and a miss for him. You're in and finishing the fight, and like you say, it's just clinical. You're not in there to have a back and forth 3-round fucking slugfest. You've got to be cerebral enough to go, something still could happen, and I might have to jump in. So I think that's a very intelligent mindset for your point of view, although there's nothing stopping you going out there just biting down on your mouth guard. You can strike with any of the guys, you can hang with any of the guys, it's no problem. I like the fact that you went out and you took the path that you would get you, one, no injuries, and two,
least resistance,
get you a nice finish and look good. I think that's quite an important, we talk about this almost all the time, the importance of getting the highlight reel finish, everybody wants that Instagram story KO or submission, but I don't feel like you're being drawn into that. I still think you just go, I'm just going to go out and do my job, and here's my job, and here's how I'm going to do it. You're quite methodical with your thought process. Do you think that would be right?
Yeah. I always say it's going to be hard enough trying to become the best fighter in the world. Never mind try to do it with a limited skill set and holding yourself back in some way, shape or form. And I think, see, if you're looking for something specific, you're limiting what you're actually capable of. There's so many ways I can win a fight. I from the very get-go have tried to be the most well-rounded fighter I can possibly be. Doing that and then trying to go out and just knock people out the whole time is it's not going to give a good representation of what I've been doing in the gym, if you know what I mean. Yeah. I think there's absolutely no point in it. I'm going to try and be the best fighter in the world. Nothing else matters. Try to be try to get a couple of highlight reel KOs. They'll come. They're going to come. Somebody's going to be able to eventually stop me taking them down, and then they're going to get butchered for it. So it's not something that I'm necessarily trying to force. It'll come eventually. If I try and force it, that's when something bad happens.
I think especially at your age, getting into these slugfests with people is silly.
Exactly.
Why?
Was it the Damien Donaldson fight? An absolute winner in a fight. Two boys were going back and forward.
It was a class fight. I
was
like
class.
watching that guy fight.
But what you got to remember is you're fighting on Cage Warriors.
Exactly, you're not getting paid for that.
You're not getting paid for this performance, as we're speaking about, you going out and trying to chase a knockdown or biting down the gum shield and just swinging.
Yeah.
You've got a long career to go.
I get paid just as much as him.
I know.
No damage.
And no damage. You're not even red. You're not even breathing heavy. Yeah. Why fucking put yourself through that? I don't know. It's
a week later, everybody's going to forget about that fight.
100%.
It's not.
And a week later, you could have fought again.
Exactly.
You could have fought again that night and again, which is obviously what you were prepared to do with the lead up to the tournament. Anyway, I didn't want to moan too much about the tournament. So
the tournament's kind of put a bit of a halt on, because after the tournament takes place, the guy that wins the tournament gets the automatic title shot. And am I right in saying that the champion is currently not available to fight?
Yes.
So there's this sort of...
It's a big waiting queue, I think, to be honest, because I feel like if none of this was going on, I feel like I would have probably had the next title shot. If there was no sort of maybe not the next title shot immediately, but I feel like I should have one more fight and then the title shot, if you know what I mean. Nobody's running through the fighters the way I'm running through the fighters. So I feel like I should have that. Whether it will end up that way, we don't know, because he was supposed to fight the Greek boy because he went off to Dana White's Contender Series, so he technically didn't lose the belt. So he was supposed to fight the Greek boy. He ended up pulling out, and so we actually don't know whether or not they're going to try and rearrange that fight, or if they're going to try and just book O'Neil Brown straight away. I feel like it should be O'Neil Brown straight away, because he's the one that won prize fighter, so he's been promised to
that was the agreement.
Yeah. So there's the Greek guy, which I feel like they actually offered me that fight, but I was in Spain at that point in time, so I was like, I can't really get over. But so I feel like there's me, there's O'Neil, and there's the Greek boy, and I think the both of those guys are just ahead of me, to be honest, as far as who deserves the title shot, if you know what I mean. I feel like I've got one more, and then it's kind of undeniable. I should be getting the title shot, but there is a wee bit of a hold up, if you know what I mean.
I think it's very difficult to say no if you go out and like your last fight, just do that again. Then it's right, aye. Well, how do we? Right, at what point do we just go? Look, we have to.
Yeah.
You know, and like I say, you're starting to, your interviews. You're being very clear about the fact you're not holding back. You're saying, I'll run through these guys. And I like that. I think it's important that you should say that. That's no put on bravado for you. That's no you try, like, people say to me, like, oh, look how he's wrote that. I'm like, aye, that's how he thinks. And I'm like, that's not only his mindset, that's legit. He will. It's going to be so. I remember when we were away in Vegas, was it last November, the welterweights fought, and now it's different champion now. And I remember you sitting watching it, and I can mind the actual look on your face. You were just like, I'd smoke them now. Yeah. And I don't even know if you were signed were you signed to Cage Warriors then? I think you had just signed.
I just fought.
And even then you were just like,
aye.
Say you've got the opportunity to be the welterweight Cage Warriors guy. Dana White comes in and offers you that contract to fight in the Contender Series. Do you go straight to Dana White?
Too right. I just go straight to Dana White. I feel like there's no reason as to why I shouldn't. Do you know what I mean? I think you go to Cage Warriors so that you can get to the UFC. I don't feel like I should turn that down if the opportunity presented itself. I'm always ready. I'm always like in training. I'm in training like with you. Yep. Do you know what I mean? I'm trying to help you like get ready for your fight and stuff like that. So I'm never not in the gym. So I'll be ready like whenever they say it. That is also another sort of like possibility. Like I might just get straight to the UFCs like before I get a title shot.
I was going to lead on to that question. So do you feel it's important to be the Cage Warriors champ, or would you just bypass that?
It's not priority, but I would like to be.
You'd like to have it on your CV?
Yeah, I would like to be the Cage Warriors champion. I'd like to like...
Holds weight, eh?
Yeah, of course. Like, ideally, I'd just get straight to the UFC. But I would like the title first. I would actually quite like to get
double.
The double, yeah. I would quite like to get both, to be honest. I'd really like to get both of them, because I'd be the first person to get the welterweight and the middleweight. So I'd be the first person in Cage Warriors history to do that.
What about the lightweight?
The lightweight? Lightweight? I don't know if I can make that, bro. That's a bit of a trick. Lee was actually talking about trying to get me to lightweight when we first started working together, just because of how much I was eating. I'd done a couple of tests and stuff like that, and he was like, there's absolutely no way in hell you're making lightweight. But I eat a ridiculous amount. Like, he gives me like, I had like a 500 gram tub of ice cream the night before my weigh-ins.
I seen
Is that Halo talk, bro? Eh?
No, it wasn't even the fake stuff.
Ice cream.
It was a full brunette. I think he'd sent me a picture of you sitting, and I just sitting on back saying, fuck yous.
I was sitting with him at Cage Warriors at your last fight, and you came so you had gone through the back. I think Lee had come down. Anyway, and you came out in your flip-flops and with your drink, and you're sitting talking to people and friends and family who've come to watch. You went, fucking hell, look in Sean's hand, and you've got your recovery drink. He's like, every other fighter, they come out with a beer.
Aye.
And he was like, even there, he's like out with the recovery drink first. Like, I don't know if you drink beers, to be fair, but
I do sometimes. But I remember that was there, and I didn't really want to drink. If you know what I mean. Sometimes I'll get like every now and then I feel like you can have a blowout and stuff like that, obviously, but I just didn't want to, if you know what I mean. So I was just like, I may as well just get fucking back on it.
That's what Lee was like. He was like, just straight away. He's like, see everything you ask him to do, just does it. He's just like Paul. So it must make his job a bit easier.
I'm telling you, there's no chance in hell that when because he gives you like a Sunday the next day. Yeah. He gives you a meal plan for the Sunday, and he's like, take protein after your fight, do this. I'm like, no, that's man. I'm going to get a big box of cereal and a big carton of milk and pour it straight in.
I had my first curry pizza, like right after.
Deadly.
Game changer.
A curry pizza, yeah.
You're going to have to talk me through this. I've never heard of a curry pizza.
You never heard of a curry pizza? It's just it's exactly what it sounds like. It's just a big, massive pizza, and they just slap curry right on top.
So is it like a cheese and tomato pizza?
No, it's like there's cheese on it, but there's no tomato. Right, so instead of the tomato sauce, it's just curry sauce and chicken. Ridiculous.
Very good.
Oh, it's so good.
I like them. I like as well a chicken tikka pizza. That's good.
I don't know.
Rip the arse out you like. Fucks me up. But
so one of the things I'm looking forward to is after my fight and being able to actually eat proper meet in New York City. So it's going to be good.
That was actually one of the reasons I wasn't too upset about the guy turning the fight down, to be honest, because I'm quite glad that I'm just going to be able to eat what I want in America. Like as soon as the guy told me, I was like, I'm not too fussed. I'm fucking going to eat hundreds of Philly cheesesteaks and all that, and like pizzas, deep dish pizzas, just mad stuff.
So are you going to look to get a fight in before the end of the year?
I don't know if it'll work out like that. My teammate's been told he's not going to be allowed out until April because they book them like fairly in advance. So if somebody pulls out, then maybe. But I think the only 2 shows are San Diego and Newcastle straight after your fight, so the week after your fight.
When's San Diego?
San Diego's in December.
Tend to have a lot of heavier weight category guys in San Diego, Americans like heavyweights and light heavyweights over there, rather than UK based ones tend to be your sort of welterweight and down.
Aye, I'm not like if they get me back out next year, say it's like March, I could go back to back rapid, like I could do March, April or something like that, like I wouldn't mind that at all, but
because that is quite a delay.
Yeah, it's a wee bit of a delay, but again, you know what I'm like.
You've got to do what the company.
Exactly. There's no point in sitting here getting stressed about it. So I don't. There is urgency, but I'm not gonna sit and get upset about not fighting when there's nothing I can do about it.
It's out of your hands.
Yeah.
So what is that April one? Is that Manchester as well?
I think you're right. I think it is Manchester. Yeah. I'd quite like to fight somewhere else, like as in like Rome or something like that. Obviously, it's class getting to fight in front of Scotland and stuff like that, but I'm gonna want to travel. Do you know what I mean? I want to go to all these different places and fight and stuff.
Did you? Well, I was going to say, did you enjoy fighting at home there? But it's kind of.
What about the noise?
The noise was mental.
With your song with the Scottish bagpipes, like even when I hear that song, it sparks something in me. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah. Everybody seems to kind of get that kind of feeling off of it. So
I think you're ticking the right boxes.
Yeah.
You're saying the right things. You've got the right walkout. You're fighting the fights the correct way. Like so far, if I was at Cage Warriors, I'd be like, aye, this guy's just doing everything we want him to do. Like, it just, like I say, April's a long way off. I'd have been fucking keen to.
First
fight I had in Scotland, the noise was mental. I've actually never heard anything like that.
It was like, as a fan sitting there watching you walk out, man, I was like,
it felt ridiculous. I don't know if you're the same, but I feel better when there's more of a crowd. See, when there's more people there, I feel so much more comfortable because I don't want to sound like, again, cliche and feel like one of those guys like, oh, I thrive under pressure and stuff like that. Like, I just genuinely feel like, see, when there's less people, you can hear individual voices. It's just weird. Whereas see, when there's more people, it's like almost like there's no one there.
It's blurred
like it's
out.
a mass and it's just noise. That was like, that genuinely felt like I was a gladiator when I was walking it the first time. The second thing was fantastic as well, but that first time
was special.
I've got
a question for you linking onto that. So this is a public announcement to Mario Batista. You were hitting these shoulder strikes, and I imagine you woke up the Sunday morning, shoulders are sore, and I know you want to get back into training. Now, it might not be easy for you, but I know a team who have got your back, and they've got your shoulder, and they've got shoulder braces to support your development, and they are called Anaconda. And if you are suffering from shoulder injuries, be it from overuse, be it from impact, Anaconda's got your back. And Ross, where can we hit these guys up?
You can get them at anacondafightwear.co, and they currently have any 2 braces for $59. Mix and match. You don't have to get 2 the same. Doesn't need to be 2 knees. Can be a knee, shoulder, wrist, elbow, whatever you're looking for.
Anaconda has got you covered no matter what your injury is, be it knee, ankle, wrist, shoulder. They've got you covered. So there's no reason for you to take long periods of time off training. Get involved, check out Anaconda, and do we have any discounts on the go?
We do. We've got 10% off for Leathered listeners if you put in Leathered 10 at the checkout.
It makes sense. Don't suffer in silence. Let Anaconda be your support. How? Because that's love. That's people showing you their love and respect for you. Walking out in Brazil.
I know. Since walking out with you in Brazil, that is something that I've immediately put in my bucket list. I would love to walk out and not only fight a Brazilian, but fight a highly touted Brazilian.
Because of the hate.
Exactly. I feel like I would love it.
So purely as a test, you would love it. or as an
experience? I would just enjoy it. I think I would just love it. I'm not thinking about the test. I'm just the experience itself. I feel like I'm actually getting excited thinking about it. I feel like just any sort of emotion put towards me, I feel like I would love, whether it's love, hate, anything. I feel like I would love it. Like, I remember when I walked out with you, even that last time, that it was.
They held us for a little bit, didn't they? They stopped us. There was an issue with Kyle's
it was
ankles
weird.
or something, and they stopped us.
Taped them.
That was mental.
They stopped us in the middle of the
I
crowd.
couldn't believe they were doing that. I was like,
And the hate that we felt there.
it was mad. They were like, some guy was actually looking at me like, you're gonna die, and I was like, why is like, fuck off. I'm not fighting your boy. Fucking look at him.
So why is there that?
You're gonna die.
Why is there that in Brazil though? Eh? Why do they have such a partisan crowd who absolutely fucking hate, like, this invaders must die attitude they've got?
I don't know, but I love it. I do love it. I respect it completely. I don't respect how like horrible they can be afterwards. Like, it's not like it's squashed there and then. There was like, see, when we're walking back, they're still being horrible. So I hated that, but I love the animosity. I like that. I think that's mental.
Oh, pre-fight animosity, I'm all for. Like, I've got no problem with you be as horrible as you need to be. If that's what it takes for you to build yourself up to that moment, or if that's the way you choose to show support for your guy, so be it. So long as it's kept within certain confines. I don't like it when it fucking overlaps into other stuff, but afterwards, it has to be done and dusted, eh? Like, fuck, you bump into old opponents all the time. There's no, you fucking couldn't possibly walk about the PI. Like, and have beef with all these guys. Do you know what I mean? It wouldn't be possible. Yeah. But
have you had any beef? And
is anything coming your way?
I'm leading you down somewhere.
Yeah, that last guy was a wee bit. It was weird. He wasn't like the last guy wasn't disrespectful per se. It was disrespectful in like a couple of weird ways. Like, it was his fans and stuff like that were very like dicky, to be honest. Like, a lot of, I think, like, they were saying some horrible stuff about my family members and stuff like that in the comment section and stuff. They were taking the piss out of my rosary beads. They were just being dicks, and that I've put a wee bit of a chip on my shoulder and stuff like that. You can actually see it when I'm like staring off with the guy at first. That's one of the reasons I never shook his hand at the end. Like, I'm full of emotion. I did shake his hand eventually, but like, that's one of the reasons I never shook his hand as well. But the camera catches it, an absolute dilly, and he gets patched an absolute belter.
And then then you see James, Sean.
I'm like, no. But you see it straight away. Like, I immediately done like a side of the cross. Like, I was praying for the guy. Like, I wanted nothing but the best for him. Like, I don't like wish. Like, I didn't have any like malice towards the guy. He just pissed me off, and all his teammates and stuff like his teammates and stuff like that pissed me off because they were commenting as well. So that was a wee bit, that had pissed me off a wee bit. That's the first time I've ever experienced anything like that. So that was pretty weird. I didn't like the comment section. I liked it when I seen the guy, and I liked it when it was just me and him, and it's kind of like, this is between you and me. But when other people got involved, I didn't like that. I thought that was weird. But you'll see it even when I'm staring off for the guy. I'm like biting my lip in that, and I'm actually thinking in my head whilst I'm biting my lip, I'm like, why are you biting your lip? I actually nearly bit it off. I'm like so frustrated. I'm just want to get at the guy.
Did you feel like you did have to compose yourself?
It's the first time I've actually felt like I've actually had to bring myself down. Normally I'm really stoic and I don't feel much, whereas that last guy, I was like, just what I get at him. I've never felt it like that before.
I've always been in the opinion like I'm going to see him tomorrow anyway. So it makes no difference. Like,
that's normally how
now
I am.
or tomorrow night makes no difference.
They asked me a question before that fight, and it was like, if you get anything to say towards one of your opponents, and like everybody kept sending me like, I don't know, like texts and stuff like that, laughing about it, but it was just like what came to my head at the time. It's like, if you get anything to say towards one of your opponents, and I was like, well, no, there's no point. I'm about to fight him anyway. Anything I say right now is just stupid. Doesn't make any sense.
I believe that. I think so too.
So they will know soon enough. Do you know what I mean? Whereas that last guy, I couldn't help but feel the frustration. So I had to, even though I was feeling the frustration, I had to just kind of like push it down. Not feel it, but just kind of not respond to it, if you know what I mean. I
do like a good like head to head though. I like a square up, but I like it.
There on him, I loved it.
I love that. I like that for any. It doesn't matter who, any face off. I want to see that the two guys want to fight. What I mean is, like, see when they start, you see these fucking mad ones on Instagram and stuff. People like chinning cunts walking into the face of it. I think that's a load of pish. I don't actually like people cracking each other at the face offs, but I like a nice tense. No, just that I like to see there's a bit
They're
of,
letting you know.
both you guys want to be here, eh? Because there's nothing worse than when you see a fight and they face off and one of them doesn't want to be there.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I like to think both guys are going to come out here and give it 110%. So you got anybody giving you anything now though? Have you got any other guys in the division saying Sean Clancy's name, or is everybody acting like you're not even there?
I think they all know what's up. I think you'd be very hard pressed to find somebody that's wanting to like dig me, without trying to sound too cocky or anything like that. It's just genuinely how I.
So what you're saying is they're all scared of you, Sean?
I think they're all scared of me, yeah. I think I'm the boogeyman of that division. I don't think there's many people that would want to fight with me. I think I'm going to start now struggling to get the next step up before the title. I think it's going to be a wee bit of a pain in the ass, for lack of a better phrase, to try and get a fight.
Frustrating, eh?
You get it?
As soon as I'm right.
You get it, because why would MD want to fight you?
100%.
Let's be honest.
100%.
Unless I'm fighting you for the title, or unless I'm fighting you for
See, that's what I'm saying. I
big
think as
money.
soon as I'm like undeniably like this is the next guy for the title, until I get to that point, it's going to be a wee bit harder to try and find fights, I do believe. Yeah.
And then the thing is, once you've got the title, then it's going to be like, fucking, now I have to fight the guy because he's the champ, so I have to fight him. So they're going to come at you with anything they can to try and get some sort of edge or under your skin, or again, attack your rosaries, your faith,
Exactly.
whatever
Just
it
wee
takes.
hints, and I think that last fight did prep me a wee bit. I know what it feels like now, so I think I'm a bit more prepared for it and stuff like that.
Do you use any like psychology, any sports psychology, any visualization? Do you use any of that kind of stuff to prepare for
Do you know
fights?
what? I'm very spiritual, and I think since I've started getting a lot closer to my faith and stuff like that, really recently, faith conquers fear, and I think that's something that has massively helped me. I think now that the stakes are getting higher, I'm definitely realising more and more that I need Jesus. Like I need something else. Do you know what I mean? I can't do this myself, and I can't keep doing it the way I've been doing it by myself.
What do you mean by that?
So I feel like I need something else to help me. If you know what I mean, help with a higher power, yeah.
To push you.
To push me and to help with my mentality, because the only person that can actually beat you is yourself. The only person that can destroy your performances is yourself if you let yourself crumble. And now that I've put all of my stresses and all of my worries and negative thoughts and stuff like that into the hands of someone else's, I can't explain how much it's helped. You can see it in my performances and stuff like that, and my composure walking into my fights and stuff like that. You can see it. Like, so I feel like my performances are speaking for me. I think now that I've got a lot closer to my faith and stuff like that recently, it's definitely helped. It's undeniable. Nobody can be like, oh, it's just because it's you that's doing it. I know that it's me doing it, but it's not me that's doing it. Do you know what I mean?
I do, but I've always been. I used to say exactly what you just said there. Fighters, when they go, first of all, I'd like to thank Jesus. That always used to annoy me, because I would go, Jesus didn't do it, but you did. So, for a counter perspective, I love that somebody else is saying, no, I needed that because of this, because I was always quite single-minded and saying, didn't matter what faith they were, if they were a Catholic guy, if they were a Muslim guy, first of all I'd like to thank God, or first of all I'd like to thank Allah. I always used to say, no, mate, it was you there, it was you running miles, it was you in the gym, it was you. So
as soon as you start to experience it for yourself, this is the only thing I'll say, as soon as you start to experience it for yourself, you'll know exactly what I mean. Well, it's nothing I can explain for you, if you know what I mean. I'm
not a religious person, but I do have certain beliefs. But were you always a religious person, or is this a newer, I don't want to say newer, but like you said there, I started to get closer to. So obviously, I take it you probably went to a Catholic primary school and high school and stuff like that, so you had an understanding of, is it Catholic faith?
Catholic, yeah.
So what was it started to push you further in this direction?
It's a good question. I actually don't really know. I've looked into it, actually. There's a lot of different reasons and stuff like that. Like, a lot of people, like, there's lots of different reasons as to why a lot of people get into it. And I tick off quite a lot of the boxes, to be honest.
So what would they be?
It's a hard one to talk about.
If you don't want it, it's all right.
Aye, it's a hard one to talk about, but I do tick off a lot of the boxes. As far as getting closer to my faith and stuff like that, I've always been a Catholic. Like, you'll see since my first fights and stuff like that at 15 and stuff like that. At 15, like, I'm walking out with my rosary beads and stuff like that. I've always been Catholic, but I've never been like practicing. You know what I mean? now that I have gotten a bit older and I've started to kind of explore it a bit more, I've started reaping benefits, and I can feel just my overall quality of life improving. It's pushed me more and more and further into it.
So did you always believe in God, or did something happen that triggered it?
I've always believed in God. But I started to kind of test the waters and stuff like that more and more with it, again, as I got older. And you'd see the benefits practically straight away. So, yeah, I can feel, I've said this already, but I can feel as the stakes are getting higher, the more I feel like I'm having to rely on that. And it's such a pillar for me. Like, it's one of the main reasons I think that I'm doing so well at the moment.
So would you say a crutch, or a pillar? So
yes.
you would go as far as to say a crutch. This is support, because that's quite
supporting me completely.
That's quite a strong statement. Yeah. That's almost taking the credit away for yourself, really. Is what
I'd say. I honestly would promise you, I'd say it's like a crutch. I'd say it's something that is. I think God's responsible for this. I do. I think like the only reason I've got everything I've got right now is due to God's grace. So I think, of course, I can take credit and stuff like that, but I feel like I have to just due to my experiences. I feel like I have to give him credit first.
I think I'm being selfish because I can tell there's something you're keeping to one side, and I've maybe tried to poke and prod a little bit too much there, but I'm interested to know. Yeah. But so I'll maybe ask you off the camera, because it's clearly something that I don't know, I can see it in your face. Even your face has changed a bit there. It's like there's something you're sort of might want to share, but you didn't want to share it. And that's good. If you want to keep it personal, it's personal. It's just, I'm surprised to hear you say something I'm surprised to hear you use the terminology like crutch, and and like I say, especially for a young guy, young guys want all the credit, don't they? When you were 21, you wanted to be the man, and for you to just be the man and then go, that's not even me, and push it to one side, that's quite unusual to see, would you say?
Yeah, I would say so. Being like famous and stuff like that's never been something that I was doing this for. Like, even like I'm not saying I'm famous or anything like that, but like since like going to,
but you will be.
I will be. Since going to like a couple of MMA shows and stuff like that recently, and even like after that last fight, I was getting hundreds of pictures taken and stuff like that, and it was definitely something I'm not used to, and it was panicking me a wee bit.
How'd you find it?
I can't lie, it was overwhelming. Yeah.
How do you deal with that moving forward?
I don't know. I'm going to need to ask you for advice, to be honest.
Like,
I don't know.
Exactly the same.
It's new.
I remember going to Paul and saying the same thing. Like, mate, I'm at work. I'm in Asda with my kids, and they come up, and what do you do? It's just your job now. Just got to be polite. Yeah. It's hard.
And especially following the rules of Catholicism. When I say rules, I mean like you follow these rules, and it's all about. Basically, if you follow these rules, you're going to have a good life, and that's what you're using as to say. That's why I follow religion, because by following these rules, it makes me a better fighter, makes me a better person, and from being a better person and better fighter, good things come my way, and it's only by following the rules of God that we'll say that. Yeah. It's exactly the same when you speak to these people. You have to follow the rules of being nice to people, because the last thing you want is somebody going away and saying, mate, Sean Clancy today in Asda, he's an absolute dick.
Too right.
And that would never ever be something that people would say, but there is times where you're going to be in supermarkets, or you're going to be just doing normal stuff with your family, and people are going to be trying to grab at you and pull at you.
I'll need to get used to it.
And it's very hard not to react and shoot for the hip, because we are very emotional people with regards to, we wear our emotions very, very openly, and it's going to be difficult, and especially the level of what you're going to get to and the fame.
It's going to be.
I've been meaning to ask you stuff like that, because, again, it's nowhere near to the extent that you'll be getting it. So like, it was just wee bits here and there, like after the fight, or even at like PFL and stuff like that. Like, I was trying to, at one point in time, I was trying to enjoy the win. Like, Stevie had just won, and I'm trying to, like, I was in the middle of speaking to Mark and James and stuff like that, and this guy literally comes up and starts like pushing me on the shoulder and that, and I'm like, see, if you were like, if I was just a random guy and you weren't drunk, you'd be getting like
laid out.
Drunks is the one though, mate. Like, I work in a nightclub, so it's like that's all I've got room, mate, is fucking drunk, geared up. Cause do you think you could FaceTime Paul right now? Like, no.
Because obviously I was the hider as well.
Please don't.
My teammates had just won, so I'm up here. and like this guy starts shoving me. So like, it's not something I'm used to, and I will obviously need to get used to it.
It's maybe good at starting on a smaller scale, like rather than like you say a catapult straight to fucking.
Exactly.
You're getting to build up in this manner, so it's not going to be as overwhelming. Well, it's still going to be fucking tricky to deal with, but it's more manageable for you. Aye.
So one of the things that have massively came up when we've been speaking to quite a lot of the MMA guys, Dylan, Mark, even Dan Hardy, was this father figure. I know you're very close with your father, but the vast majority of people are finding a father figure in the captains of the gym, like James Doolan. When you started working with him, was it an automatic gelling? Was it one of these things like, this is a guy I'm going to follow him? Because when you listen to Mark and you listen to Dylan, they guys are like, what James says go, doesn't matter. He says jump and we'll jump as high as he tells us to jump.
100%. Yeah, I would say so. As soon as like I've got a great dad, but like as soon as I've went to James, like I can't help but feel like he has already like just immediately became like a bit of a father figure. And I think there's no like everybody in the gym kind of feels like that, if you know what I mean. I bet to a degree you'll kind of like feel like
definitely
that.
like he's a guy I look up to. He's been there, he's done it, Cage Warriors champion, fought the top guys in Europe. He's well respected as a coach all over the world, doesn't matter where you go. And of course there's that role where he steps into as a for me, it's probably because I'm that bit older as well. You guys are all pretty young and you have grown up with him, whereas I didn't get that chance. I grew up with another father figure in this role of being a coach. But what's the development like of you working with a guy like James? It's
hard to even explain because I've got nothing else to compare it to. I've been spoiled. Honestly, I've been spoiled because he's the only person, like he's the only like main coach that's been like, right, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you do this. And it's the first time I've had it. It's the only time I've had it. So again, I've been spoiled. It's hard to explain, but I do know how fortunate I am. He's just on it all the time. Like he never switches off. Like he's on it in the gym and out the gym. He'll make sure you're all right in the gym. He'll make sure you're all right out the gym. Like if he sees that I'm acting a wee bit different, he'll pick up on it straight away. Like he knows himself. He knows me probably better than I do in some aspects. Like even for that leading up to that last fight, you could tell I was getting a wee, like definitely a little bit emotional leading up to that last fight, and he picked up on it straight away. And he was immediately there to make sure I was all right, and he was immediately there to like talk me through it and stuff like that. But
it's not just he's able to bounce between many different like facets of conversation. I was talking to him about a book on Thursday night that I brought in. I was like, James, you read this book? I'll explain it after. And he was like, oh, I've read it, and we're talking about certain bits it. And I was like, and then he's straight back to talking about the next class. And you're like, the way that he can hop between these types of conversations, I never really just see him sort of chit-chatting, like what you did in the night. There's never really that. It's always, there's some sort of subject matter on it. So that's probably helpful for you because everything's probably always directing you, or when it's not I'm certain you have conversations with him that aren't MMA related, but they're not just your sort of filler type conversations, if that makes sense. There's always something more meaningful to it, and that's probably helping in your overall development as well. So that's how he's able to pick up on the changes in mood, attitude, how you're feeling, because a certain thing would be very off topic for you to talk about. Would that maybe? Yeah,
definitely. I think if you think about how hard it must be to do it, it's like the ultimate form of multitasking. You've got all these different fighters and you need to make sure they're good inside the cage and outside the cage.
And they're all weirdos, mate.
They're all strange. They're all like mad, autistic, like ADHD riddled humans. Aye. They're all just like...
with all types of problems.
Exactly. So, and he's having to take all of that on. I couldn't imagine. I just need to deal with me, and I struggle to deal with me sometimes.
And make sure they all get on.
Exactly.
That's hard.
You're like keeping this culture like that, like he always talks about, and it's just... it's second to none. That something that he's really helped me with as far as MMA goes, and it's something that I'll always thank him for, because it helps me in the cage and it helps me out the cage, is like as far as like confidence and stuff like that. Like I was never a confident person. I was never like a very brash person or nothing like that. But he's helped me as far as like he's helped me come out of my shell in certain ways. He's helped me become a more confident person. because when it comes up to fights and stuff like that, I've got a lot of like anxieties and stuff, and that's one of the reasons that I've probably like been pushed towards my faith and like pushed deeper into my faith is due to like not being a mega confident person and like having a wee bit of anxiety and stuff like that. He has also helped with things like that. He's like been able to help talk me through it. He like, there's a lot of people that have made Chris D'Amato and like Mike Tyson like kind of comparisons and stuff like that. Like he's basically brought me up.
The photo that you took as well.
And like certain ways he's kind of like helped bring me up. Do you know what I mean? Like I wouldn't be the person I am today if it wasn't for that guy. Never mind the fighter. Like I was never a mega confident person, and it's only after joining that gym and finding my kind of crook and my place and like where I fit in that I've kind of came out my shell a wee bit more.
So like you said though at the start there, one thing, you're already close to your dad. So most other guys not really that close to their dads. For you already being tight with your dad and then having another guy stepping in on, I don't want to say trying to fill his shoes, but sort of being side by side there. How does that sit with your old man? Is he, he's supportive?
My dad looks at James the exact same way.
Like, he's so part of the team.
Exactly. So my dad and James are completely different people. So like my dad is like an insane person. Like you've met him before. He is an actual insane person. I
met your dad a long time ago, so I've known your dad for a long time.
You'll know yourself. So
I met your dad when I was your age.
Yeah. So my dad is not a consistent person at all, whereas James has that consistency and that kind of structure. So like
they're polar opposites.
So my dad
help each other.
Exactly.
A better version.
Exactly. So I'm honestly,
it's good that your dad can, because I think a lot of dads would be jealous at that. To put it quite bluntly, they would say, no, that's me, I do that. But if your dad is cerebral enough to go, well, this aspect of it, I cannot fulfill. And here's a person who can. And then and it goes on and supports that fully. I think that's excellent. I think that's clearly going to be a massive help as opposed to how it could be.
100%. He fought under James right before I first joined. So I joined higher level when I was 14. And he'd fought, I think it was a couple of months before I'd ever joined the gym. He was always a grip house kind of guy, and then somebody told him, if you're like being serious about this fight, you need to go to higher level. He's went up to higher level, and it was just different. Like you'll know it yourselves, it's just different. And he was like, my son needs to go here. Because he's like that's where my dream kind of came from. It was like my dad being like, I want my son to be the best fighter in the world. Like you're not going to get many like 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 4-year-old kids that are like, I want to be the best fighter in the world without it coming from somewhere. So that's where it's obviously came from. And he's kind of the same mentality as me. It doesn't matter, just as long as he's the best in the world.
Yeah, just as long as he hits the goal.
That's why he's been so comfortable with giving me to James, because he knows that that's the only way I'm going to get
place
there.
For you to be.
Exactly.
That's quite a strong statement, eh? Like giving you to James.
Aye, that's what he done. That's how he speaks about it anyway.
And like as a parent yourself, giving you to...
Yeah, because like in that gym, he's not the parent. Like he's not the dad there. Like when we're holding pads, we're teammates. We're like, it doesn't obviously come up anymore. But like when he did, that was the dynamic. Like he's not going to be like, right, Sean, fucking get your shit together. It's going to be like, do you know what I mean? Like the same way we would hold pads, the same way we would hold pads. It's no different to that.
Can I ask a wee question?
Yeah.
So obviously you've been away with Paul a few times. Do you think that's something that kind of sets you apart from like other younger fighters, that you've had the opportunity to go and see the UFC, how it operates, how these guys operate at the highest level?
Yeah, 100%, definitely. As far as like on my first fight in Cage Warriors, I remember thinking as I was walking out to my first fight, not my first fight in Cage Warriors, sorry, my first fight in Glasgow, when that crowd was so big, I remember thinking like it was, again, you'll know what it's like when you're walking out, there's like tiny wee thoughts that come in rapidly, but it's nothing that you can like hold on to. But I was walking out and I remember thinking, I was like, if I hadn't seen these UFC events, I don't think I would be as comfortable as I am right now, because I remember how comfortable I was. I remember thinking it beforehand, I remember thinking it during the fight, and I remember thinking it after the fight. I was like, there's absolutely no way that I would be as comfortable as I was without seeing a crowd literally like 10, 20 times as big. Like having something like that in your back pocket at such a young age is just, it's like a cheat code.
I think as well, going to the PI, I've used this one all the time. When you're training in the PI and you look across and there's Cody Garbrandt there and there's Aljamain Sterling there, and you're in the same room as all these guys, and you go, no, we are the same.
Yeah,
like we are training at the same level. We're competing in different organisations, But this is the same. So that's obviously how it's going to be for you. You like, you could be asked to jump in with one of these guys for a wrestling, a jits, a sparring, and you would be perfectly fine.
Too right.
But how long does it take people to learn that?
Yeah.
And you've learned that at 20 years old.
Yeah.
That's such a huge advantage, in my opinion.
Can you
I might be
remember
wrong.
the bit of advice I gave you?
The bit of advice.
About meeting people?
But meeting people, yeah.
Don't ask them for a picture, Greg. Is that was
No,
that?
no.
Greg
No,
didn't
no.
get that one.
It was
Sorry.
No. The picture's absolutely.
I don't know if this is the one you're talking about, but the one I remember was like, you need to be nice to everybody. You need to be nice to everybody, because I actually did nearly get into trouble one time.
You want to tell the story?
When we were in Vegas, I cannot remember what words were said. All I know is this man was cheeky. So I've walked in to an elevator, and this guy was on his phone, and I've said something pure, like just polite, like nothing like pure, like nothing, I don't know, just like a wee bit of banter, nothing, like very polite. And I've walked into the elevator, and this guy's gave me like a pure snarky comment back, and it was very cheeky, and I was like, did he just fucking say that? And I was like, I felt like my immediate reaction was to think, like, just to say something back, like just get angry and then
Is this person
get hostile.
famous?
Keep listening.
Yeah, so it was immediately to get hostile, and something told me just not to. I obviously wasn't going to punch a guy in the middle of the elevator, but it was something that like made me think that. So obviously wasn't good. It pissed me off, and I was like, I'll leave it. There was something in my head telling me to leave it. I was like, I feel like I recognise this guy. I'm not going to say anything.
Just got to take it, you mean?
I'm just pretty much, mate. And fucking, he's went up and he's been like staring off with Johnny Walker. And when he's been staring off with Johnny Walker, the guy in the middle of the both of them, kind of like holding them apart from each other, it was the same guys in the elevator. It was fucking Mick Maynard.
The matchmaker.
I know. I was like, you could make my life very difficult.
What are you looking at, dickhead?
I go off. He's like, right, you're getting matched up against Francis and Gary.
Probably better you just took that, mate.
That was one of the things I was like, so see, everybody you meet here, you never know who they are, you never know where they're going, you never know what they're going through. My only advice is for MD who's working in anything, doesn't matter what it is, if it's UFC or anywhere, if you're working in an office, just, you don't know who they are, you don't know where they're going, just be nice to people. And then when you told me that, I was like, that kind of worked out for you, didn't it? It was like, fuck you, was a prick.
Conversely though, see over there, everybody is so polite. I mind me and you were training late one night in the PI, and Stephen Bonner came up and was like, not Stephen Bonner, sorry, rest in peace Stephen Bonner. Forrest Griffin came up and he was like, hey guys, how's it going? And
Just had that combo.
Just a normal, and he was like, I'm Forrest. Mate, we know.
If you could choose, I actually remember the question because I was like, all right. If you could choose one fighter that had the most potential but didn't have a good enough kind of start at the sport or a good enough team behind them, who would you choose? And I was like, I don't know. I couldn't even answer the question because I was that taken aback.
Difficult,
that was a pure deep question for just straight away.
Like 9 o'clock on a Tuesday night or something.
Who did you pick?
Who did we end up picking?
I says, without being biased or anything like that, I was like, I'll say, who was it I said again? What was his name?
Because I remember he'd said he was like, I've been going around asking all the guys this today and trying
Terence
to get...
McKinney, that's what I said. Because that boy's a freak athlete. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Aye.
Fastest scale in lightweight history. That boy's a freak athlete, but he's just nuts. And you can tell he's not...
Where was it we were and he was... Remember he got put to bed?
It was Brazil. It was Brazil.
Johnny Walker fucking...
He was up at 5 a.m. or something like that, shagging these mad Brazilian lassies. He was saying straight after it. I was like, you're a nutcase.
Might have to cut that bit.
Hopefully he's not married.
Who, Forrest?
I'm like right before... he's like right before you're about to fight somebody. You're like up at like 5 a.m. shagging these lassies.
Did he get knocked out?
He got knocked out, aye.
He did, aye.
He got knocked out bad.
So he is one of the guys that probably needs... good
guidance. Mm-hmm. He's just one of the nutters, but he's like mega athletic, and you can tell even like when he fights and stuff like that, he just sees things that like people normally wouldn't. So I was like, that's probably a good guess.
It's over there is just such a happier kind of place. People are always a bit more cheerful. Would you ever see yourself moving across, or do you think your home will always be Scotland?
My home will always be Scotland, whether I move or not. But
well, that's what I mean. Would you move abroad to train?
I never used to want to because of my family and stuff like that. I'm very tightly knit with my family. So that would be the only thing that was keeping me away. But see, when you go and experience these different countries and stuff like that, you kind of realise that there is in fact more, and you come back home and it feels like somebody's put a grey filter and everything.
Aye.
It literally is.
I'm glad you're seeing that again at such a young age. Like, it fucking took me forever.
I'm like, I don't even need to move to a country that's mega far away. I can move to like a wee island and like, I don't know, anywhere that's like a 2-hour flight from Scotland, if you know what I mean. So I could actually see myself moving to one of these countries. It's just, even just for a better life for like my family and stuff. Like,
you think it would be a bit more positive? Because there is a negativity. I don't care what people say. There is a fucking huge big negativity pool here, eh?
Yeah.
And especially for yourself, like right at this sort of, you're at kind of a tipping point, eh? And you really, things do need to not start going your way, because I think they are going your way, but you're pushing them in that direction. They keep going your way. Your trajectory is quite obvious. It's UFC and it's success in the UFC. So you have to think about, how do I keep cultivating that, making sure that it stays that way, and maybe having to move away from Scotland is the answer to that.
I don't think I'll do it before I'm finished fighting. I think it'll be after I finish fighting. I would never move. Like, my home's like James Dillon and higher level.
Right, okay.
So that's where I'd like stay. Maybe moving for like, I don't know, after once I'm finished and like I'm retired, then yeah, of course I wouldn't want to just keep waking up in like -5 degrees. Do you know what I mean? Like, I would like to live in like a hot country, like somewhere that's got like nice food and stuff like that, just nice fresh food. Just,
I was meaning fighting and training in another place. So obviously higher level is always going to be.
Here's my home. Here's my home. Sorry, I've misunderstood.
No, it's all right.
Here is my home. But as far as what you were saying, as far as like people being negative here and stuff like that, I feel like I've actually got quite lucky in a lot of ways. I've not faced like a lot of negativity or anything like that, or people like doubting me. Like, you get a lot of people saying like, oh, I proved the doubters wrong and stuff like that. I've not got any doubters. People are actually pretty nice to me.
I think most Sean Clancy fans know what they're looking at, though. They know what they're talking about, you know, as opposed to just sort of like, I mean, he's all right. You get what I mean?
Even like in school and stuff like that, I never had like the stereotypical teachers being like, oh, you're going to work at McDonald's or something like that.
I got plenty of that. Like,
there were some people that weren't nice, but like, I wouldn't say they were met. Like, I feel overwhelming love. I can't really complain about the haters when I've got as much love as I've got, if you know what I mean.
It drowns them out a bit.
Yeah, it completely drowns them out.
My history teacher always used to say to me, Ross, are you practicing? And I go, practicing what? He go, do you want fries with that? It's like, that's all you need to say, buddy.
That's strange that it's history, your history teacher.
And that's what he used to always complain. He would say, you're so good at this class and you make zero effort. He's like, you just couldn't give a fuck, eh? Like, aye.
My history teacher called me and my mate a couple of queer hawks.
Queer hawks?
Like, what does that mean? And my mate was like, he called us puffs. And I was like, right.
I can't say that one. I'm on bail for that now.
Oh, right. That was a quote, by the way.
Aye.
How long's that?
Sean never said it.
I know. We'll wrap it there. Okay. Sean, it's an absolute pleasure. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out? Sponsors or people who have been a massive...
I always worry about this because I always end up like leaving somebody out. Is there any way I can like tag people at the end or anything like that? Tag a bunch of people?
We can add it all.
Perfect, we'll do that. But I've got a coffee that's came out recently, so I'd kind of like to plug that a wee bit.
The Clancy Fight the Good Fight coffee beans.
Battle blend, so.
And it's got your brand, and as well you can hit up on the, am I right in saying you can get t-shirts from
it's
Fanboy.
Yeah. I almost called him by his name there.
So if you're looking for coffee, we'll put a link in the bio as well. We'll put the t-shirts in the bio as well.
Thank you.
And I know you've got loads of sponsors that we'll tag in as well.
Thank you very much.
Sean, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you, man.
Thank you so much. It's been great being here. I've enjoyed it. I've loved it.
Thank you. As always, guys, keep it high and we will catch you soon.
See you shortly.